All right, so let me begin my sermon with a dash of humor. Matt, if you would. All right, this is a cartoon from the New Yorker magazine, July, by Asher Perlman. It's two guys talking in a bar, and one says to the other, "I also treat my body like a temple, an ancient structure in desperate need of repair, long ignored and of rapidly decreasing significance to a largely indifferent society." So the reason why I like this, I'm glad you also find it funny. Humor is always a little bit risky, so I see it as taking a humorous dig at the way our society, and especially in kind of the wellness world, can have a very judgment-heavy hierarchy that values certain kind of bodies and the people who live in them, and devalues other kinds of bodies and the people who live through them. And so one is clearly a temple that's well kept, and the other maybe not so much. And so I want to be clear that I'm offering this perspective. I'm offering this from the perspective that everybody of every kind of body and every age and stage of life has inherent and sacred worth and dignity, and deserved to be honored and cared for like a sacred temple, and need not be in rapidly decreasing significance to a largely indifferent society. Through sickness and health, through plenty and want, our holy Creator cares and honors us as embodied and spiritual beings. So you can take the cartoon down. I don't know if it's still up there, but all right, good. We can move on there. So one of the themes we've been exploring the past several weeks is embodied spirituality. What does it mean? What does it look like for us as Jesus followers to really honor the fact that our faith is incarnational, which means in the flesh? It's about the in-the-flesh-ness of the divine. What is it like to honor the reality of what Jesus kind of exemplified, that our embodied natures as embodied souls and ensouled bodies? So it may come as a surprise for some to hear this, but a Christian view, and I said it before, I'll just keep repeating it, it is not about the separation between soul and body in heaven and earth in a dualistic way, where the goal is to just go in one direction and to leave the other behind as quick as you can. It's not about one realm conquering the other and putting it underfoot, but it's rather about their union, their transformative reunion, which we as Christians find embodied in the person of Jesus and through Christ in the most cosmic sense. So this has very important implications for how we are to treat one another, try to treat one another. How do the choices we make change when we really honor ourselves and honor other people as embodied souls and ensouled bodies? So the early community of Jesus followers were remarkable and strange in the view of the Greco-Roman Mediterranean world of their time. They were very reluctant to resort to violence, which was strange. They took great care in avoiding sexual relations that were exploitative and dominating. They went to great lengths to make sure people had enough to eat and adequate clothing and shelter. They performed acts of compassion for people who were imprisoned, who were restrained in their bodies. They put a lot of energy into the care and healing and inclusion of those who were sick and infirm. And all this meant that these Jesus freaks had undergone a countercultural change in how they treated other people. This was strange and unusual. They treated people as being more, as infinitely more than mere objects. Their understanding of what it means to be a human being had transformed in a way that raises up the dignity and worth of everyone and everybody, as we are. We are more than physical objects. We are also eternal souls. And at the same time, we are not only eternal souls, somehow evaporated out. We are both. We are embodied souls and ensouled bodies. And this means that everyone's embodied well-being is important and deserves care, as well as there is our spiritual well-being. It's both physical and spiritual care. So this ethic, it's an ethic about how to treat one another. It's an ethic that condemns spiritual and physical violation and encourages physical and spiritual care and healing. So when it comes to an ethic of an embodied faith, I'll take an opportunity here to make an important related point, which again just bears repeating, apparently. So there are passages in the New Testament, letters, especially letters of Paul, that Christians have used to condemn homosexuality, known as the clobber texts. But if you actually study the Greek words, and what they would have meant in the Greco-Roman world, you will see that these words are not talking about situations where you have two people who love each other and care for each other and are committed to each other. Just the opposite. These are about situations of exploitation and domination and violation. And so that's what Christians should be talking about when they and we talk about sexual ethics. Not about the fact that our Creator has seen fit to endow humanity with a range of beautiful orientations in how and with whom different people are attracted to each other. It just bears repeating. And the important thing is that however we're oriented, we do our best to honor the dignity and self-worth of ourselves and of others as embodied souls and ensouled bodies. And this means condemning violation and encouraging care and healing. So our denomination, United Church of Christ, has a great faith and sexuality curriculum called Our Whole Lives, which has different age-appropriate curricula. And I think it was a while ago when this church offered that to a youth group. Churches most often offer the kind of teenage age range for this curriculum. And the good folks who have developed this have distilled some really important core values, which I want to share with you all so that you know, and if you heard it, it just bears repeating and sharing. Every person is entitled to dignity and self-worth. We respect other people because they are equal to us as beloved children of the living God. We need to avoid double standards. People of all ages, people of different races, backgrounds, class, income levels, physical and mental abilities, sexual orientations, gender orientations, all people must have equal value and rights. Sexuality should never involve coercion or exploitation. Sexuality in our society is damaged by violence and exploitation and alienation and dishonesty and abuse of power and treatment of persons as objects. And we are called to enrich our lives, if we are called in that way, by expressing romantic connection in ways that enhance human wholeness and fulfillment and express love and commitment and delight and pleasure. So those are guiding values, which are good, I believe, and very much worth sharing and seeking to be guided by. So now the problem is we live in a fallen world, right? And that can be really tough. Everyone is deserving of care and well-being when it comes to the integrity of our bodies and our souls. But most folks don't make it out of this life unscathed, without suffering harm or inflicting harm, either physically or spiritually, emotionally, and so on. A lot of folks bear wounds for one reason or another, and have places of brokenness and of shame. And many folks bear guilt as well. And this is why so many have found healing and power and grace through the figure of Christ as divine incarnation. It's part of the power. Now, the early Jesus followers faced a lot of persecution, and they did not shy away from their own physical suffering. They were willing, if necessary, to undergo painful things for the sake of what they believed. And they also went out of their way, and this is related, to welcome those who bore in their bodies the marks of harm and shame. It was a healing community. And they could take these risks because they knew very deeply that the same holy power that resurrected the crucified Christ also embraces and bears their trauma and transforms it in life-giving ways. This is a trustworthy Savior, Jesus is. And the healing power is what sustains this Christian ethic against physical and spiritual violation and for physical and spiritual care and nurture. So now, the bitter irony, as many of you are aware of and have wrestled with, is that the Christian religion, through ages and cultures and times, has been twisted by some and too many into an excuse to do the opposite and to commit physical and spiritual harm and to sever the body from the soul. And here, too, we need renewal and healing. And so for the sake of that healing, I want to offer a couple of prayers by a contemporary religious writer named Cole Arthur Riley. And this is from her book called Black Liturgies, Prayers, Poems, and Meditations for Staying Human. And she wrote this book specifically of, by, and for Black folks, but she also welcomes its use for anyone who wants to recover from the ways that Christianity too often has been used to do harm, especially, in the service of white supremacy. So in one section, Riley has prayers about the body. So there are different sections, which is really good and rich and wise and beautiful. And she has a section specifically about the body that really honors embodied spirituality as a healing approach. So there's a prayer that she calls For the Mirror. There's a prayer called For Those Who Left Their Bodies to Survive. There's a prayer for the disabled and chronically ill. There's a prayer for queer bodies. There's one for women reclaiming their bodies. There's one for aging bodies. And if any of those seem like they would be helpful to you or anyone you know, I'm happy to share them with you after the service. I made copies this morning. They're a little bit upside down because, but grace abounds, right? But for now, I will share with you all here in our worship service a short litany that she wrote for the body. With a prayer, it begins with a prayer that's said for the breath, an in-breath and out-breath prayer, a prayer of confession, a prayer of forgiveness, some questions for contemplation, and then a benediction. So, as you feel moved, please pray with me. On the inhale, we can pray, I listen to my body. And on the exhale, I will stay whole. I can listen to my body. I will stay whole. On the inhale, my body is good. On the exhale, I will not abandon it. My body is good. I will not abandon it. On the inhale, this flesh is divine. On the exhale, in the physical is the spiritual. This flesh is divine. in the physical is the spiritual. Then a prayer of confession. Embodied God, we confess the ways we have rent mind from matter, been deceived into viewing our bodies as tools, as opposed to sacred beings worthy of love and honor. In our spiritualities, we have exalted the invisible over the physical. In our daily routines, we have not cared for our bodies well. And that neglect has rippled out toward the bodies of others in our midst. Forgive us, God, and restore us in a sacred attunement to our whole selves, mind, blood, breath, the hands that grip these pages. With divine help, may we never abandon ourselves again. And a prayer of forgiveness. Let your soul receive this rest. The same God who knit together the physical realm has mercy on your soul today and your body. Trust that you can be relieved of any guilt for a body that doesn't perform or appear to exist or exist in the ways that others demand. Be assured that your body is good as it is, forgiven, that you would remain whole and embodied, with shame forever far from you. Some words for contemplation in this spirit of grace. How do you feel about your body today? What parts are you proud of? What parts need extra protection? When you're stressed, what aspects of bodily care are you prone to forget first? And what is one habit you can implement to resist this? When is the last time you felt in awe of your body? What words of compassion can you speak over your body today? And then a prayer of benediction. With the power of God who comes in flesh, for all flesh, go in courage to remain in your body, that you stay whole in this world and in this precious life. May it be so. Thanks be to God.